So what you can do is you can apply stuff directly to the layer itself. So you could go to layer. I should probably turn this up because it was lower. You could go to layer. No, sorry, image adjustments. You know, brightness, contrast levels, curves, and these are all different like effects that have their own like plugin that you can like adjust the settings in there. But instead, what I like to do is I like to make something down here, or actually, sorry, you can even go to filters. Here, select the layer first, otherwise it won't show. Oops. Select the layer. There are a bunch of different filters you can apply to it too, like a blur, a distort, noise, pixelate, all this stuff. This is the most simple stuff that I will usually do is just this. It's kind of like an adjustment layer. So I click on this little like half and half circle. I go up to curves because the only thing I really want to do here is I want to make things pop a little bit more. Curves. And see, now there's this whole adjustment layer. Everything underneath it will be affected by this. So if there's ever a situation where you were applying, you know, another layer on top of this that you don't want to be affected by this color, you would just slap it on top. It goes, and whatever falls under this, it controls. But since there's nothing there, it doesn't matter. And the way that way, so like let's say you make like some weird effects to this right here, and you're like, oh, I don't like that, you know, you can just make it go away. Versus if you were to apply it directly to this, there's no way to undo it. So if I went to adjustments, image adjustments, curves, and I did this thing, and I hit OK, there's nothing for me to undo. That is just the image now. I can Control Z and undo that step, but there's no like unlimited amount of like undo in this version of Photoshop, which I think is stupid, but it is what it is. But yeah, so when you do it to a separate layer, you can just mess with it here. So I'm gonna do this. So these are your midtones, high tones, low tones. This little histogram. Yeah, histogram you see in the back. This is telling you like what is most prominent in this picture. So it's white heavy. Yeah, but there's also a lot of black in this. Yes. Like there, like even here, my hair. So I usually like an S curve is usually pretty common because then you like accentuate the highs, or you brighten up the lights and you lower the darkness. And then what you choose to do with the mids is like completely up to you. So like what I would do is like even just by pulling this up, this automatically goes down. It's like you can do stuff like this, but then you know, it looks kind of weird. So when I pull this like a little bit down, I want to pull this a little bit right there is about my skin tone, I would say. And then I can go over to, so this is just RGB. This is all the curves. This is just RGB. When on this setting, it's kind of just light and dark. If I want to make this a little bit more warm, I go to reds. So this is looking at my skin. I want to take that and see if I can bump it up just a little, just to make it feel a little bit warmer on me. I can pull. What are these dark reds? Oh, that's just the shadow. Those are the shadows of my skin. So if you see like the shadows of my skin changing a little bit, you can see that pulling down. So I don't want to make it too dark, but right there. If you want to make the overall picture warm, you could just drag the middle up, and that kind of generally affects everything, but it's mostly my skin. I'm going to pull it a little up right there. And even just by doing all that stuff, like it goes from that to that. Yeah. So that's like one way of doing things. You get to go to blues. Now here's the thing. This is the great thing that I can't teach you. So you could just go to YouTube and you could literally look up like RGB curve presets or RGB curve examples. And if you go on YouTube and search that, then you'll see a bunch of different like graphs you can try that people just like copy and onto a picture. Now it might not work for all pictures because it depends on how did you take the picture, what was the lighting like, blah 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 blah. But there are plenty of things that you can go online and just copy. You'd be like, oh yeah, I like the way that looks. Let me try it on this picture. Or that like aesthetic looks good. For me, I do like to keep things like kind of bright and popping because it makes people feel intrinsically a little happier. So here's another thing you could do. So I could create this. So this new layer, right? So you also would probably need to learn about like color schemes and stuff. One color scheme that works together is like orange and teal, orange and blue. It's like known in a lot of like action movies to use that like kind of color scheme. So the way people do that, so see I have this blank image on top. I'm gonna take this brush tool. Where's it? Brush. And I'm gonna make it really big. So use the brackets to change the size. So this bracket makes it bigger, this bracket makes it smaller. You can also just adjust it up here by making your size bigger or smaller. So I'm gonna choose a soft brush. I don't want anything too prominent. I'm gonna use a kind of a happy orange, as Bob Ross would say. Make this a little bit bigger. It's as big as it gets. So I'm gonna kind of put this soft light around my face. Actually, I probably want to flip-flop that actually. Also, by the way, if you just Control Z in this, it literally just does that. You need to Control Alt Z if you want to do a step at a time. Okay. So since this side's brighter, I'm gonna kind of, since light's coming from here, I'm gonna take the lighter, happier color over here, and then I'm gonna take this, change it to. You should actually make this 2 separate layers. Control Shift N. Okay. Then I will make this one the blue. Each thing you do should be a separate layer. It makes it easier. Then I will kind of just. Okay. So now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to make it up shinier light. So I'm going to go normal. And I'm going to try to do lighten. Screen. There we go. Screen kind of makes it glow a little bit. Go over here. Screen. These are all just different ways to change the color of what you want. And then I'm going to take this opacity and I'm going to drag it down a little bit. I'm going to take this opacity, drag it down a little bit because right now it's obvious that. And then drag this down a little bit more. See, what I could do is I could take this orange and maybe like kind of, oh no, that's the blue. I want to take the orange I had. That's kind of similar. And lighten it. But even adding some of that, like if I completely like take stuff like this away, you can kind of see what it does. Mm-hmm. Might look stupid, but it's like subtle, very subtle stuff. Even that at 17% is a little much. Drop it there. And then kind of see those colors working together. There are different color schemes that people use. There's like red, pink, purple for like romance. So like if I did Control Shift, this one will just make 1 layer. You should usually make these colors one, or all different layers, but I'm just gonna, let's see. So if we add like a red, okay, maybe add like some pinks up there by that pink from up there, so it looks a little bit more natural. Like a pink from up there, and then maybe like a purple down in the shadows. Like you can't just slap the color on somewhere. You gotta find like a reason for it to be somewhere. Make it darker, so like oh, maybe down here, maybe a little back there, and then like get a little bit more of that red. I for the eyedrop tool to pick up the color you just worked with, or to pick up the color that you're on. And if I slowly dial this back, gives that kind of a feel. When you put it over the white, it is a little jarring unless you like fully cover it. Let's see if I, kind of cover up that white so there's not like a white that kind of shows you that like, oh, this looks kind of fake. But like even that, so that feel versus like this feel, there's 2 different things. Yeah. Usually you want to work with the colors you have in here, but like, this is a little bit more like, it kind of gives a feel of romance. It's very subtle. If you do it really well, then you'll be able to tell how it works, but you know, shit like this. And if I take everything away, then, but you got all that. It's like a kind of like superhero gaming, kind of, a little bit. And then you could slap some text up here, like, I'm sure there are YouTube tutorials you can look up for like really nice text, how to do really sick text, stuff like that. But I don't know, Christopher, you fucking, I don't know.
Pentakill, bottom text.
Oops. I usually don't this, I wouldn't want text for any of my Instagram pictures, but like, I don't know, 300 or something. Double click on things to pull this up. These are layer styles, so like if you wanted to make your lights here have shadows, that makes no sense, but like, so you double click, never on the actual text because then it makes you rename it. It has to be to the side. Drop shadow. Yeah, kind of makes it look a little bit more 3D. You can change the angle at which it is. That's pretty good. You can change the distance. You can make it closer. Make it thicker. Make it more diffused. Make it not. I don't want it to be diffused really. I'm gonna actually make that 0 or 13. I'm gonna make the color white. We'll like that orange for that. This is really shitty. Like, this is a really shitty text. There's a lot more you can do with text, but like, you know, you can fill this empty space with stuff like that. If it was sponsored by Micro Center or Main Gear, then this would be a great picture. I think it would be fine. But yeah, you can even Control T. You know,
Chroma video 25.
yeah, exactly. You can like find a hard line to stick that to. There's a ton of shit you can do. But as far as what I would want, mainly just try to get the colors to look nice. If you can't color it right and you forget everything here, this doesn't make sense to you in this video, then you can also just look up shit on YouTube. How to color correct the right way. Shit like that. Yeah. That's basically it. I'll stop.